Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio, Story 35.
Imagine opening your mail, right? You get a jury summons. But instead of being called to some fluorescent lit local courthouse to deal with a minor civil dispute, you are drafted to act as the temporary king of hell.
Which is, I mean, it's quite the escalation from a normal civic duty.
Oh, totally. We are unpacking this completely extraordinary scenario today. It takes that mundane dread of bureaucratic duty and, well, it elevates it to a matter of literal cosmic justice.
It really does. The source we're looking at is an excerpt from the classic text, Liao Zaizi.
Yeah, it's the tale of a man named Li Boyan. Now, if you're familiar with this text at all, you know it's famous for these bizarre, intricate tales of spirits and demons. But our mission today is to look past the supernatural window dressing.
Right, because there's a lot more going on here than just ghosts.
Exactly. We are going to unpack how this incredibly vivid, terrifying story of underworld justice is actually this razor-sharp critique of human morality. It basically exposes the flaws in our own systems of power. Let's get into it.
So to start, we really need to look at the protagonist, Li Boyan. The text goes out of its way to establish exactly who he is before any of the supernatural stuff happens.
Yeah, he's from a place called Yishui, and he's known as this very upright, courageous guy, right?
Very much so.
Yeah.
He has this unshakable sense of integrity, which makes what happens next so jarring. Because out of nowhere, he just falls violently ill.
And his family reacts the way, any of us would. They completely panic. They're rushing in with doctors and remedies.
But Li does something deeply unsettling. He refuses all of it.
He just calmly tells them, my illness isn't medical.
Right. He explains that the underworld is temporarily lacking a Yama, which is the title for a king of hell, and he's been drafted for a 3-day stint to fill the vacancy.
I just love the absolute certainty he has. It's not a fever dream. He's literally giving his family a factual update on his employment status.
Yes. He gives them a direct order. He says, do not bury my body, just wait. And he dies that very day. His consciousness is just pulled into another jurisdiction.
And what a jurisdiction it is. When he arrives, it completely shatters that chaotic image of the afterlife we usually have. He isn't thrown into a cavern of fire with demons just torturing souls at random.
No, it's a massive, highly organized bureaucracy.
Yeah. He's escorted to this grand palace. They give him official robes and a crown, and the clerks treat him with this immense reverence. But the best part is his desk.
Oh, the desk is great. It's overflowing with these complex, meticulously organized case files.
Which is so funny to me. Because hell isn't anarchy here, it's just an administrative machine.
But unlike human systems, which are, always bogged down by lost paperwork or corrupt officials, this system runs with terrifying precision. It's the ultimate manifestation of the rule of law.
Right. Which brings us to the first case that lands on his desk, and it's a heavy one. It's a man from Jiangnan who is accused of seducing and ruining the lives of 82 women from good families.
And the text makes a point to note that the evidence here is completely solid. There's no ambiguity. The guilt is absolute.
So he has to issue a punishment. And the prescribed punishment is this thing called the Paoluo. And the details here are just horrifying.
They really shift the tone from bureaucratic procedural straight into visceral horror.
Yeah, so picture this. It's an 8 to 9 foot tall, hollow copper pillar. Basically the thickness of a human embrace. And they pack the inside with burning charcoal until the whole copper exterior is glowing red hot.
Just unimaginably painful.
And it gets worse. Demons with iron caltrops, basically these spiked whips, they force the man to hug this blazing pillar and climb it.
So his flesh is actively searing as he inches up.
Exactly. And when he finally reaches the top, there's this massive bang. The text describes it exactly like a firecracker sound, and then he falls all the way back to the ground.
But he doesn't just die. The architecture of this justice demands a cycle.
Right. He hits the ground, he revives, and they force him to do it again. Up the red-hot pillar, another firecracker sound, another fall.
And this happens 3 times, right?
Yeah, after the third fall, his body just dissipates into smoke. He is completely erased from existence, which, talk about the most extreme temp job ever. You're on day 1, and you're overseeing the total annihilation of a human soul.
It's a lot to handle before lunch.
For sure. But I want to ask you about this because the details of this punishment are incredibly specific. The height, the glowing copper, that weird firecracker sound at the top.
Yeah.
Why is the text focusing so intensely on the physical mechanics of this torture?
Well, it feels like an elaborate theatrical performance, right? But that performance has a purpose. The extreme detail is laying down the absolute uncompromising baseline of the underworld.
Okay, what do you mean by baseline?
It means that in this realm, actions have direct, undeniable, and terrifyingly permanent consequences. It establishes a system of justice that is totally immune to the loopholes of the human world.
Oh, I see. Because in a human court, a wealthy guy from Jiang'an could just bribe a magistrate.
Exactly. He could intimidate witnesses or find a legal technicality. Here, none of that matters. You can't negotiate with the glowing copper. The moral math is absolute.
That is a great way to put it. The moral math. So we have this clear-cut case of an evil stranger, but the author doesn't let Lai or us stay comfortable for long.
No, the narrative pivots very quickly. Ruling on a cartoonishly evil stranger from far away is easy, but the second case is a massive nepotism trap.
Right. So Lai opens the next file, and standing there is a man named Wang. Wang is from Li's own hometown, and crucially, they are relatives by marriage.
Suddenly, the objective distance of the judge is completely compromised.
And Wang's crime isn't like the first guy. It's that mundane, slippery kind of corruption. He bought a maid from an illegal seller for a really cheap price. He knew it was illegal, but he just turned a blind eye.
A very human failing, honestly.
Yeah. But now the maid's actual father is suing him in the underworld.
And we really have to talk about the subplot with Wang here. Because even as a ghost, he's acting like a corrupt official. He tries to rig the trial from beyond the grave.
This part is so eerie. So Wang dies, and his ghost goes to his living friend Zhu to recruit him as a character witness.
Which is wild. He's basically trying to subpoena a living person.
Yeah. And Zhu is terrified. He hides in his study and absolutely refuses to help. And Wang just looks at him and says this incredibly chilling line. He says, "It's not up to you."
It's such a striking moment.
It really is. Because the second Wang says that, Zhu immediately drops dead. He dies right there in his study and is dragged down to hell to testify.
This really forces us to think about divine jurisdiction. In the human world, if you get a subpoena, you have agency. You can hide or flee.
You can just not answer the door.
Right. But the underworld's jurisdiction supersedes human biology. When ultimate truth needs a witness, your mortal life is just stripped away.
So brutal. Okay, so now Zhu is dragged into the hall. Wang is there. The maid's father is waiting. Li is presiding over this whole thing. And Li looks down at his relative, Wang, and he has this brief secret thought of favoritism.
He doesn't act on it, though.
No, he doesn't forge a document or say anything. He just thinks, maybe I should be a little lenient since we're in-laws. But the very millisecond that selfish thought crosses his mind, fire spontaneously erupts in the judgment hall. It starts violently burning the beams right above his head.
It's literally the environment rejecting his cognitive bias.
Yeah. And this clerk rushes up to a terrified Leah and warns him. He says, "The underworld is not like the human world. A single selfish thought cannot be tolerated. Extinguish the thought and the fire will go out."
And Li does.
He does. He clears his mind and the fire instantly vanishes. But wait, I have to push back on this concept because it's like a supernatural smoke detector. Right?
Bias detector, yeah.
Right, but he didn't actually do anything corrupt yet. He just had a thought. Isn't this literal thought crime? We don't punish judges for an impulse in the real world.
And that contrast is exactly the point the author is making. It highlights the difference between human law and absolute moral law. Well, human law relies on observable actions. We need proof, a paper trail. We actually assume human judges have biases, which is why we ask them to recuse themselves.
Right, we manage the bias, we don't cure it.
Exactly. But this absolute moral law judges pure intent. The underworld demands total purity. It shows us how easily human officials are corrupted by personal connections, because in the human world, that bias is invisible.
Oh, wow. So in the real world, a secret bias doesn't burn the roof down. It just rots the system silently. The underworld fire just makes it visible.
Precisely. It protects the integrity of the realm.
That makes so much sense. So Leah gets his mind right, the fire goes out, and the trial finishes fairly. Wang is sentenced to be flogged. But the supernatural justice doesn't just stay in the afterlife, right?
No, it violently bleeds back into the living world. The barrier between these realms is very porous.
Yeah, so Leah's 3 days are up. He goes back to his body. He resurrects. Wang and Zhu also resurrect after their 3-day deaths. And when Li goes to visit his relative Wang, this is where it gets crazy.
Wang is bedridden, but He's incredibly respectful now.
Very respectful. Because his back is covered in flogging sores, they're oozing pus, his flesh is rotting, and the scars perfectly match the exact number of cane marks he got in his underworld beating.
It takes him, what, 20 days to heal?
20 agonizing days.
It's like the spiritual realm stamped a physical receipt onto his body. It proved that human justice was successfully bypassed.
Walking receipts. And we see that this surveillance state of the afterlife works in both directions. Because on his way back, Lai meets hundreds of ghosts.
Right, the wandering ghosts. They're missing heads and limbs. They're trapped far from home.
And they beg Lai for a road pass, but his term is over. He doesn't have the authority anymore, so they ask him to pass a message to a living man, a guy named Hu from the South Village.
They want Hu to include them in a Taoist ritual he's planning, which, for context, is basically spiritual paperwork. It's a very standard thing for ghosts to ask for.
It sounds standard until Li actually finds Hu and tells him. Hu is absolutely shocked because he hadn't told anyone about this ritual. He'd survived a war, and he just made a private vow to his wife in their bedroom, in a whisper.
That's the part that really gets you.
Yeah. Hu just terrifiedly realizes, oh my God, a single whisper in the bedroom is broadcast to the underworld. Yeah. It's that huge aha moment for the listener, too. Their entire existence is essentially on a hot mic.
It's the ultimate warning. The text is arguing that privacy is an illusion when it comes to morality.
You can't hide anything.
You really can't. Those physical scars on Wang, they serve as this undeniable proof of underworld justice operating in broad daylight. You can't pretend it was just a bad dream when your back is literally rotting.
So true. Okay, so bringing it all together, the fire, the scars, the hot rake, we have to look at the original author's closing commentary.
Right, the author who calls himself Yi Shi. He steps out of the story to deliver this mic drop moment.
He really does. He summarizes his whole point. He says, yes, underworld punishments are crueler and stricter than human ones, but because bribery and connections are completely useless down there, the people being punished don't complain.
They accept it because the system is brutal, but it's deeply fair.
Exactly. And then he reveals the true meaning of the whole story with this biting regret. He says, I only regret there's no fire to burn the halls of human officials.
It's such a brilliant reveal. This entire ghost story was actually a massive, thinly veiled protest against corrupt human judges the whole time.
He's basically saying our human systems are so thoroughly corrupt that if we had that bias detecting fire, every single courthouse would burn to the ground.
It's a really powerful critique, and it's one that completely translates to the modern day.